care about this state and this district as much as I do. I was born and raised in the 5th District. I went to school here to Putnam City North. I went to college at Oklahoma Christian. My family and I make our home in the 5th District. We worship in the 5th District. And frankly, I'm the only candidate at the podium right now that lives in the 5th District. As a business owner and a banker, I worked to make sure that I stood behind the folks that I was working with, that I worked with my customers, that I made a successful decision when it came to my business or my bank. And now the government is trying to keep me from doing that. They are overreaching. And I have a little story. My mom always said, you need to leave a place better than you found it. You need to leave where you need to make a difference, and one person can make a difference. And my mother, you've heard me talk about my dad through all these forums, you've never heard me talk about my mom. But my mom actually founded a little organization in Edmond called You Are Special Ministries. And with that little organization, she felt like she could make a difference by clothing kids who are at risk so that they could go back to school in a brand new pair of clothes. And at the time she died, she had clothed 21,000 kids. And today, that organization's clothed 30,000 kids. So she really lived what she believed. You make a place better than it was by being there. And that's what I want to do. When I was a mayor, what I did is I tried to leave the city better than it was when I went. I stood up for conservative values. I made sure we didn't lay off police and fire during the time of a recession. I worked very hard to live up to the promises. I even had my little campaign brochure laying on my desk so that I always looked at that and made sure I remembered what I promised people. And what I promised folks is that I'd show up and that I'd stand up and that I'd stand for the values that they elected me to stand for. I'm a conservative. Conservatives show up and they do their job. And at the commission, I've shown up 37,000 times. I voted in more than 99.7% of my cases. I put my voting record up against anyone else's in this room. I show up, I stand up, I look for opportunities to fight for conservative values, to fight for Oklahoma, and you never know when they're going to show up. Because just like my mom said, you got to make this place better now than it was when you came into it. And I think that we are leaving. I've left my city in a better place, and when I get to go to Congress, I'm going to leave this nation in a better place, and I'm going to stand up for the 5th District. I ask you to hire me for this job next Tuesday on August the 26th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Douglas, I'm the only candidate in this race that has defended the 5th District. I'm an optimist. There is no future in pessimism. Our nation still has great capacity. We have the economic resources to turn ourselves around with our oil and gas industry. We have an innovative people that can still create, work, and solve problems. We have the assurance of a mighty God if we are faithful with what He has granted to us. What we don't have is national leadership that will put the country before themselves. I have, and I will. I've defended the Constitution since I was 18. If you're going to risk your life to defend this document, and I've nearly given mine several times for it, you need to know what's in it. God-given rights, not granted by government, freedom to speak and worship as you choose, freedom to defend yourself as an individual with arms if necessary, freedom to be secure in your property and your privacy, and freedom for redress of grievance. Today, an overbearing government assaults our liberty by forcing you to buy a health care product that you didn't choose. Your hard-earned dollars are forcibly given to those who do not labor. Politicians believe the government's role now is to expand government that you have to pay for, while they collect data from your children, your phone calls, and your emails, even your DNA, all without your consent. Our liberty suffers because departments and agencies, lawmakers and judges are demanding new reach into your life, new restrictions on your livelihood, new revenues from your paycheck, and new rules about what you should eat, what you should drink, or how you should be clothed, so our lives will be better. We continue to relinquish our lives to be planned by intellectual elites, or we can stand up and fight for ourselves, and I know how to fight. We have a choice between those who uphold the Constitution of the United States or give it to progressives that claim Jefferson and Jackson but want us to live like Marx and Lenin. Patriots, we're past the time that we must stand together to save this country. I've stood up and I've shown up on foreign battlefields, in the Senate, and in the business world. And I refuse to quit on this great nation, and that's why I'm running for this office. I leave you with the note from Samuel Adams to James Warren that he penned in 1780 when we began our country. If ever a time should come when vain and aspiring men shall possess the highest seats of government, our country will stand in need of its most experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. I am an experienced patriot, and I would love to have your vote on August 26th.
I want to say to each of you, each of the candidates, I have been in a couple of these contests myself. Both of these candidates are looking forward to Tuesday, finishing strong. I want to say, and I think we all should recognize, the great commitment that both of these candidates have made, their families, and we ought to recognize that this evening. Let's recognize that.